instead of an iPhone in 2013. But wait, it also has an extra function.
And if that's not enough, a keypad for folks who want to text.
Yeah, for folks who want to text on something other than, but attached to, the iPhone they already own. Still, on the plus side, it lights up. will.i.am is proud of his invention, as he explained during the launch a few months ago.
This was in my head in February, and now it's in my hand in November. About to be in stores in December.
And in landfill sites by March. Who paid attention to Marley last year? Well, hardly anyone, myself included. There was no connection between Marley and me. I thought it was a film about a dog. In fact, the only people who seemed to care about Marley were the French and the widely derided presidential candidate Mitt Romney, who mentioned the country in his third debate.
We want to make sure that we're seeing progress throughout the Middle East, with Mali now having North Mali taken over by al-Qaeda.
Only to get laughed at. As the depressing subsequent coverage made clear, life in northern Mali was grim. Islamic extremists had gained a foothold there and were apparently making civilian life about as much fun as sitting through 9 episodes of Paddy's TV Guide, with regular public thrashings for minor infractions. Unsurprisingly, the locals moved out in an evacuation, or exodus. Well, that's Mali for you. The Malian army tried fighting back, but they seemed underprepared. As a startling French news report revealed, they were genuinely having to train without ammunition.
Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom.
Someone answer that gun. They weren't the best equipped army in the world. Their uniforms were threadbare and their weapons were jamming. Well, that's Mali for you. By contrast, as Sky News comprehensively showed, the extremists seemed heavily armed with weapons apparently gained during the Libyan uprising. In fact, they had so many guns they often seemed to just frolic about with them, like men playing with puppies. France responded by sending in troops who took the fight all over northern Mali. They also sprayed paratroopers over Timbuktu in what looked suspiciously like footage from 1943. The onslaught surprised both the Islamists and people like me, who thought Timbuktu was a made-up region of Narnia or something. As the Islamists fled, Sky News broadcast footage of the jubilant locals recorded for posterity on a Commodore VIC-20. The people of Timbuktu were so delighted to be liberated by the French, they dressed up in celebratory costume for Sky's cameras, briefly turning Alex Crawford into Gok Wan.
Look what this man has done. He's done Viva l'Opération Serval. That's the name of the operation that Francois Hollande has given it. And then at the back, a big thank you to not only to the French President Hollande, but all the other countries who've helped support this operation.
That's quite a get-up.
Get up, stand up.
Well, that's Mali for you.
While the scenes of celebration were genuine enough, what wasn't quite clear was who the routed extremists actually were. Whoever they were, there wasn't much footage of them, mainly just the chaos left in their wake, such as burnt-out cars and a strange emphasis on the book collections they'd destroyed.
Do you know why libraries annoy Islamic extremists so much? Maybe they think the Dewey system was invented by Jews.
While Malians were suffering, the rest of the world wasn't too bothered until a few weeks ago when yet another terrorist group crept out of Mali into Algeria and overran a BP complex taking hostages.
This was a terrifying event and a huge news story, but frustratingly for the networks, there was a distinct lack of footage of it, forcing them to improvise.
Hence, we saw a lot of Google Map explainers and reconstructions of the event that made it all look a bit like an Xbox Half-Life mod.
Still, at least the news had something new to scare us with, namely terrorist leader Mokhtar Belmokhtar, so bad they named him twice. Actually, he's got a variety of aliases.
Mukhtar Belmokhtar has an entourage that calls him the Prince.
They also call him One-Eyed Jack, as in the Jack of Diamonds.
A.K.A. One Eye because he lost an eye, a.k.a. the Marlboro Man because he made a living smuggling cigarettes.
Yeah, aka that bloke we've only got the one shot of. In fact, they had so little underwhelming footage of Belmokhtar, they had to keep fiddling with it just so it looked sinister, freezing it, zooming in and out, turning him into a sort of Warhol screen print, and on Sky, superimposing silly spook-style graphics over him while playing an ominous chord.
Belmokhtar has joined the A-list of world's most wanted men.
And to be fair, anyone looks sinister if you do that to them. I mean, look at Nicholas Lyndhurst here. Chilling.
In a sign the West is now taking the threat seriously, David Cameron committed troops to Mali, then hopped on a plane for a whistle-stop holiday tour of the troubled yet beautiful region, where he enjoyed the scenery, shuffled past traditionally dressed locals, marvelled at their detailed miniature leaders and fine array of meze, and generally did his best to blend in with his surroundings.
In summary, the situation in North Africa, and Mali in particular, is clearly one to keep an eye on. Well, that's Mali for you. David Cameron's tour of North Africa provoked much thoughtful reaction, some of it online.
Here's our regular roundup of some of the sort of things you've been saying online. Yes, you, your words, your opinions. It's what you think. It's points off of you in points off you. Seeing Cameron play the international statesman seemed to annoy some of you. For instance, Alan from Leicester logged on to say simply, "Go on, Dave, you toilet house." Robust yet concise commentary from Alan there. Cameron also visited Libya as part of his travels, which didn't impress Pooped On Worker, who took to Yahoo to say he's going to help them as well, and our bloody council tax will rise. Why are we standing for this? Pooped On Worker seems to have calmed down there slightly at the end. Or maybe you were just tired after another long day being pooped on as part of the system. Aren't we all? Someone calling themselves European, which scarcely narrows it down, complains that Dave is spending our money on Muslims, the very people that hate us. Well, actually, much of that money is going to be spent on shooting Muslims. Beyoncé was in the news again. First she admitted lip-syncing at Obama's inauguration during a tense press conference. Then she blew the roof off the Super Bowl with a triumphant performance that had millions pumping their fists, some of them in their laps. But not everyone's happy with her, no. Samantha went to the Mail Online to say, "Beyoncé, if you're so proud of your daughter, let us see her face. So what if she looks like her dad? You chose to have a baby with an unattractive man. Are you waiting until she's old enough for plastic surgery, then you will let us see her? And what sort of complex are you giving to this poor child?" You know what, Samantha? We have seen her baby's face. There was a widely distributed, heartwarming photo of it. Look, see? Anyway, thank you, Samantha. Good luck battling the demented sense of righteous entitlement which seems to have hopelessly crippled your sense of reason. All this kerfuffle over Beyoncé's baby prompted someone calling themselves Blatalian to take to Twitter to point out that bitches be more concerned with Beyoncé's baby than theirs. Yes, well, that is one thing we can all agree on. And now, here's something else. Hitchcock is a shaggy dog story involving everyone's favourite borderline misogynist cinematic genius Alfred Hitchcock, played by Anthony Hopkins in a slightly distracting fat suit which makes him vaguely look like he's in a highbrow all-white Big Mama's House spin-off. The story concerns Hitch's attempts to shoot his stabby Meisterwerk Psycho while experiencing relationship turbulence with wife Alma, played by Helen Mirren, and suffering troubling visions of real-life serial killer Ed Gein, whose genuine corpse-skinning exploits were the inspiration for Psycho.
Graphic elements of brutal violence, transvestitism and incest.
Sounds ghastly.
Peggy, this is the boy who dug up his own mother.
It starts off well, and the behind-the-scenes on Psycho stuff is initially fascinating for films pods at any rate. But the film soon veers into clunky terrain and winds up feeling like an underwhelming TV movie about a kooky couple, which leaves you chiefly frustrated that a bunch of fine performances have been left wandering fruitlessly in search of a slightly better script. It has great moments, but not quite enough of them. But nor is it a complete horror show, which is ironic really given the subject matter, which is filming Janet Leigh being stabbed to death in the shower. Joining me to discuss that and topics arising are journalist Camilla Long and comedian Bob Mortimer, who once stabbed a woman to death in the shower, isn't that right?
That's correct, yes.
I've often wondered, if you were stabbing someone to death in a shower, where would you start?
They say the classic prison stabbing is in the arse.
No, I think they've been telling you stories.
No, because it makes the point.
No, it's very, very difficult to heal. It takes forever and they can't sit down. A lot of them can simply be stitched and the pain goes away.
But not the bum?
Not the arse. No, there is no surgeon will stitch an arse.
So if Janet Leigh had been stabbed in the arse in Psycho, she could have survived, but the rest of the film she'd have been really complaining and not really enjoying that money she'd stolen.
Yes, I think we would have had a movie. It would be a different movie if she'd been stabbed in the bum.
Would you say you're a Hitchcock fan?
I enjoyed the films when I was young. You know, when I was 13, 14, when they first came out. But I think that...
What are you saying? You're now too sophisticated for Hitchcock?
Well, I think that technology has made them seem very dated and difficult to enjoy, for me. I don't know why there's such reverence for Psycho. I can't quite see it.
So you prefer new stuff to old stuff?
I'm much... In that genre, yeah, I much prefer it. Like some of the Spanish stuff, like Wreck and Juliet's Eyes.
So that Wreck is a terrifying film.
They're terrifying. They're magnificent.
You're a real connoisseur of these things, basically.
Well, I've been about a bit. I'm 53, and I came with the first rush of DVD rentals. Would you remember that, Joe?
You came with the first rush of DVD rentals. That's right, you really are a fan.
That very moment, the blockbusters opened.
Psycho did kickstart the slasher movie genre. There's a new slasher film coming out in March. It's called Maniac. It's got a gimmick, which is that it's all shot from the point of view of the killer.
you think is playing the killer in that?
Christian Slater?
No.
Mr. Paparazzi?
What, Mr. Darren Lyons? The guy who looks like a sort of depressed Sonic the Hedgehog.
You would be scared.
Mr. Paparazzi, I could believe kills women. I definitely could. It's Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood, Frodo Baggins from Lord of the Rings. The only way his face would look disturbing is if you sheared it off, I think, and stuck it on the end of a pike and waved it.
Oh, I think he's very weird looking. Yeah, no, baby face is good for a killer.
Would you go and see that?
I would, yeah. I do like horror. I like to go and see horror in the afternoon because the cinema's empty and I can smoke.
What, in the cinema?
Yes.
Do you smoke in cinemas?
When there's no one in, yes.
Really?
Really?
They let you?
No, well, I don't ask anyone's permission, it's empty.
I can't relax in cinemas. I always think that something terrible is going to happen in a cinema. And certainly if I went into a cinema in the afternoon, there was a lone man sitting in the middle smoking, I'd probably leave, I think. I'd definitely think he was a pervert.
Fluids, and the world's favourite chemically complex refreshment beverage unveils an arresting ad telling the everyday story of a simple gardener undermined by a gang of predatory can-rolling women.
Of course, if you actually rolled a drinks can at a professional lawnmower, it'd get shredded up by the blades and ragged shards of metal would fly out, slicing his face and throat open. Not that these would care, no, not as long as his six-pack's intact. And stopping the mower isn't enough for these picnic baskets, no. They then trick him into drinking the shooken-up can, causing it to detonate in the messiest cum shot of all time. But our cunning moman gets his revenge by pulling his soggy top off and silencing the harridans by flaunting his bevelled surfaces at them, thereby rendering them both speechless and wetter than him. And thus, women are conquered once more. I guess the take-home message here is that it's funny to force menial workers to strip and that Diet Coke only contains 1 calorie and you can soon burn that off with about 10 seconds of bean polishing. Oh, and in the interest of balance, I have to point out other diet drinks are available, e.g. water.
Publications, and in a series of disturbing ads, tranquil lunch breaks nationwide are repeatedly interrupted by the invasion of a cheerful oak tree.
Hiya! So what did you think of the stories in this week's Take a Break?
I don't know, what do I think of the stories in this week's Take a Break?
Hang on a minute, haven't you lot got to go back to work? Nah.
Oh, yeah, fuck British industry.
It seems no lunch break is safe from Mel's weekly inspections.
Hiya! What do you think of the stories in this week's Take a Break?
Well, they're all a bit depressing, to be honest with you. I mean, they're all about death and disease and like...
Hiya!
Oh, hiya!
So, what do you think of the stories in this week's Take a Break?
I don't know anymore.
Haven't you lot got to go back to work?
This is my work, Mel.
And a simpering husband dribbles his way through a glossy cheeseball hair dye ad.
Kate and I have been married for 15 years. That's 3 moves, 5 jobs, 2 newborns. It's no wonder I'm getting grey.
Grey? You're black and white.
But Kate still looks like... Kate.
It'd be weird if she looked like the late Richard III.
I don't know all her secrets, but I do know Kate's more beautiful now than the day I married her.
Yeah, well, the day you married her, she was pale and shivering with regret, you fucking creep. Well, that's your lot. We're done for now. You and I are through. Till next time, go away.
J is for jam, jelly and juice. Tomorrow night on BBC Two as Joe Brand and Lisa Tarbuck. Guest on QI at 10.